Welcome to Down to Dunk. I'm your host, Andrew Schlecht. We're part of the Athletic Podcast Network. With me, as always, on Wednesdays is my friend Alex Speers. Alex, what's up?
What's up, Andrew? No basketball. Season's over. It's all over. Got to wait a whole week. More than a week, I guess.
It does feel strange. I believe the series will start Tuesday, no matter what, which is a long time. It's a long wait for the Thunder. I think obviously a good thing for guys like Chet to have a little bit of rest, and Shea, and I mean all the guys. But man, they've had two giant breaks, recently, and it's because they're very good. This is a very good basketball team.
Yeah. Some details that came out yesterday that I thought were interesting is, obviously the Wolves and Nuggets that can get started. They're going to have played game 2 by the time OKC and whoever plays game 1 next Tuesday.
Yeah.
But if you're worried that means that if they did move on to the conference finals, they would have a disadvantage, the way it's going to work out is that the Denver-Minnesota series is going to have like huge gaps after game 2. And the OKC series is actually going to be like pretty regular, which I think is even more of an advantage for OKC because it means whoever comes out of this Clippers-Mavs series isn't going to get huge breaks in between games in the next round. It's going to be just kind of continuous, which I think favors OKC too.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I don't know what to think about round 2. Like I've been going back and forth. Going into the first round, I was like, okay, I definitely would rather see the Clippers.
Yeah.
Like, the Mavs were just so hot at the end of the season. But the more I watch them, I'm just like, you know what? I don't know if I really care that much anymore.
I know. Especially like Luka, who's clearly not 100%. And obviously Kawhi is not even playing.
Yeah.
It just kind of it takes the edge, off of both those teams.
It definitely does not feel insurmountable, and I also don't think that because I was thinking, if we ended up, let's say the Mavs had won in 5 and looked like the way they had looked,
and
it ends up OKC Dallas. I would guess that Dallas would have been the favorite. Like a lot of people would have been picking Dallas in that series.
Yeah.
Whereas now I do think it'll be a little bit more split, just because of how good OKC looked, and like you mentioned, all the things that both of those teams are dealing with right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, I keep going back and forth because there are advantages and disadvantages to either of those teams. Like watching those games and just seeing what Dallas's perimeter defense looks like.
Yeah.
I'm like, man, OKC would have a real advantage there with how many guys they have that can drive and kick on their team.
Yeah.
And that's not the case with the Clippers. I mean, I think Terrence Mann's been really good on defense. They obviously have Paul George. Who knows if Kawhi comes back? But so, yeah, I don't know what to think. I still think I would probably rather have the Clippers.
Yeah.
Just because I do think Luka has that, even not 100% healthy, still has that type of like series takeover talent where he can almost beat you on his own, especially in combination with Kyrie, who has just been like incredible.
Kyrie's really good. Yeah.
He was amazing in that last game.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think I'd still rather have the Clippers, but Dallas doesn't look as scary as I once thought.
Yeah, it's a right knee sprain for Luka.
And yeah.
He's gonna play. Like he's gonna play through it, but he clearly was just not himself.
And he's still putting up, basically 30, 10, and 10. So like he's still getting his stats, but
yeah, he's still ridiculous.
It didn't look as impactful.
Who do you think is going to win the series?
I don't know. I mean, I've been assuming it's going to be Dallas this whole time, and then Kawhi goes out, and I was just super impressed with the Clippers. I mean, yes, they almost blew a 31-point lead or whatever it was.
I was so impressed, and then so unimpressed, and then so impressed with the Clippers.
Yeah. I mean, I texted you guys like when they got up by 30, I'm kind of rooting for the Clippers. I just think they're just
Yeah.
easier to root for. There's
Yeah.
more people on that team that I like
Yeah.
than
Yeah.
than Dallas. And so when they got up by 30, I was like, man, I can see where this is going. So I actually bet on the Mavericks
Oh, you
to
did.
protect myself from what I knew was coming. And so then as they start losing that lead in the third quarter, I'm not as mad because I'm like, worst case scenario, Dallas
It's an
wins
emotional
and I
hedge that you
and I
made.
get a little money. Yeah. So that was my plan for it. I feel like that's the best way to bet where you can because then when they did win, I was happy. I didn't even care that I lost
You're
some money.
yeah, so you're betting against your own your own psyche, basically.
Yeah. When the Clippers won, it's like, okay, well, I paid for that win, and I
That's right.
would gladly do it again because I want this series to go as long as possible.
Yeah. I mean, that was huge. 'Cause I mean, the conversation going into game 4 was, well, it looks like it's gonna be Thunder Mavs. That's the way things are heading.
Yeah,
And if you're the Clippers, like, you just can't even play Kawhi. Like, just don't even
I
do it.
know.
Rest him, see if he can get better. Maybe he can play in round 2, but you can't play him like this. He makes them worse because everybody will defer to him. Like, they look to him as, like, the leader of the team on both ends, and he's just not that. And when Paul George had 33, 6, 8, 4 steals, and a block in that
Yeah,
game. Was 11 of 19 from the field, 7 of 10 from 3. I mean, he was huge in that game. He was so good. And then James Harden down the stretch, he was 12 of 17 from the field. Like every floater was going down. I mean, that he was really good in this game. And I think if you can let those guys loose a little bit, I think they can, you know, they can deliver it for you. Also, a reason why I would want, and I say they can deliver it for you. Also, a reason why I kind of would want to play this Clippers team is they're just full of historic chokers. You know?
yeah, they are. I mean, the scary thing about the Clippers, and you've already seen it in this series, the 2 games that they won, they can easily have games where they just shoot an absurd percentage from 3. Something that the, Pelicans
62.1% from three. So yeah, something that the Pelicans couldn't even dream of.
Yeah, like
They
they
did-
shot 62% from 3 in their game 1 win, and they shot 50% from 3 in their game 4 win, and that's just what happens, like, I know that OKC is, like, the best three-point percentage team of the season, but in
Yeah.
terms of, like, high volume three-pointers, the Clippers are scary in that way, like, they will win you some games just because they're gonna shoot crazy from 3.
Yeah. Well, you got Norm Powell coming off the bench, who is like a legitimate scorer and a guy who hits
Yeah,
corner threes. And if you're the Thunder, who have been a team that has given up more corner threes than any other team in the NBA this season. And we even saw it in the Pelicans series. They gave them a lot of corner threes. The Clippers will make you pay from the corners.
yeah,
So they're going to
they
have
will.
to make some adjustments because Norm Powell will just camp there in the corner, allow Harden, PG, Russ, whoever to create, and he will hit. And he did it in Oklahoma City earlier this season. Like he had a great game in Oklahoma City. And a lot of it was that he's just camped in the corner, just waiting for the defense to be broken down just a smidge. And then when that opening is created, boom, hits him in the corner, and he's going to make that corner three. It's
Yeah, he shot 55% on corner threes this season.
he's been phenomenal. He's
On
been really
almost 2 attempts per game, which is
yeah
also crazy.
yeah. I mean, it's a lot. I mean, he's probably and he's being set up really well, but he's probably one of the better corner 3-point shooters in the league. That's on
Yeah.
volume. So it's it's gonna be. I mean, I'm so excited to watch this game tonight. The late game tonight is Dallas Clippers, and it's gonna be
It's gonna be in LA.
fascinating. Fascinating. Yeah, in
Gotta
LA.
root for our Clippers.
But you're
Hopefully, Westbrook can, make a shot.
he was like one of the only guys that kind of struggled. He was 2 of 8 in that game. Was not very good.
Yeah, he's been pretty rough in this series, at least offensively.
Yeah. Yeah. What do you think about the bigs for Dallas against Oklahoma City? Because
I
that'll
mean,
certainly be something that people talk about.
yeah, I mean, Gafford certainly is and Lively are both like really big lob threats in a way that Valanciunas just really isn't like that type of high
Well,
flyer.
I mean, he yeah. I mean, that dude just almost can't jump. He's just too
Yeah,
heavy.
yeah. So that would definitely add a new element, and it's one of those things where if you can get them off of Chet, it's not like we really have anyone tall enough to jump up and contest a lot of those lobs. So
Mm.
I do think that would be a big threat for OKC. Just Luca or Kyrie running the pick and roll with those guys and being able to lob it up to them. With the Clippers, I mean, I think Zoo is a better player than Valanciunas. I don't like just overall. Like he's certainly a better two-way player than Valanciunas. I
Mhm.
don't think he scares me as much when he's on offense as Valanciunas does. Like I know we've seen it a little bit in this Mavericks series. I mean, there have been stretches where they have just like gone to Zoo in the post, like just over and over again. I think that was in game one when that was happening. Uh, but that doesn't like worry me as much. I just think it was almost out of necessity in the Pelican series that they like they needed Valanciunas to be scoring like at least 20 points every night.
Mhm.
Whereas with the Clippers, yeah, Zoo might get some, similar looking attempts around the rim as Valanciunas, but they just have so many other players. I don't think they're ever going to be like relying on Zoo to be a huge offensive force, and they're not going to keep going to him when you have like Paul George and James Harden.
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see if they choose to go smaller against the Thunder with just the way that the cross matching just didn't really work for teams down the stretch, and then they started to shift back because like we really just didn't see that much cross matching even in this series, with the Thunder and Pelicans. That I mean, I thought we'd see a whole lot more, but they really didn't. Um, so that will be interesting to see, kind of what happens with either Dallas or the Clippers if they'll do more.
Yeah,
'Cause
I
they also been playing Maxi Kleber a lot more
yeah,
than
they have,
than I
for
thought
sure.
they would. I mean, he played more minutes than, either Gafford or Lively in that last game.
Yeah, I definitely think Ty Lue would do it. I definitely think they would start out with Zoo on Giddy. And then I feel pretty good that Kid would do it as well. I almost think it's more important for Dallas that that works for
Yeah.
them
Mhm.
because I just think it presents a lot more problems for Dallas if Gafford is being taken out of the paint by Chet. Like
Yeah.
so I almost think you kind of got to start there. I mean, I guess they have Derek Jones Jr. He's somewhat of a rim protector, but I just feel like you need that big body in Gafford around the rim. Otherwise, OKC could go crazy.
Mhm.
Um, and it's tough with both of these teams, kind of, because the regular season matchups aren't super helpful.
Yeah.
I mean, probably the most relevant Dallas matchup was that one where OKC got blown out right after the. I mean, that was the only time they really played Dallas with this new squad and a full squad. I don't
Mhm.
remember if anyone from OKC was missing in that game or not.
I have to call it up.
Yeah. And then I just don't feel like they've played the Clippers in forever. I don't remember when they last played the Clippers. Did they play them recently? Like towards the end of the season?
No, it's been a minute since they played the Clippers. Uh,
Yeah.
mm, yeah, let's look and see who played in those games. And I mean, I don't know how even fruitful it is to to look at some of this stuff.
Well,
Um,
now it feels like going forward, we just need to ignore regular season completely.
yeah,
After that Minnesota Phoenix series, where it was just like, what was that in the regular season?
yeah,
That clearly meant nothing.
it was bizarre. It was really bizarre. So yeah, when the Thunder lost to the Mavericks, 146 to 111. Uh, they had all their starters and they had their guys.
Wow, even Poku played in that game.
Poku played 5 minutes
No.
and 44 seconds in that game.
Is it possible? Was Poku a minus 30 in those minutes? Because that might have been the reason why they lost by so much.
Plus minus 0.
Oh wow, he actually had the best plus minus on the team.
Yeah, he did.
Okay.
Shea was a minus 31. It just was not. That was not their day.
No, it was not.
The bench went crazy for the Mavs. Or Tim Hardaway Jr., who's been hurt, is not playing in this series. PJ Washington. Oh, it was like the PJ Washington, Daniel Gafford, like, welcome to our team. It's great to have you. They're killing the Thunder. Victory laps are being taken. Yeah. It's sharpening in my mind. Yeah, that was not great. And then the last time they played the Clippers, goodness,
was February 22nd.
Yeah, it's been a minute.
And that was full squad. That had Kawhi played in that game.
Yeah. Thunder won that one. Shea was really good. Yeah, Chet had 17, 10, and 3 with 3 blocks in that one. So, I don't know. I mean, I think that we'll kind of dig into those a little bit more whenever we figure out who the opponent's going to be. But Al, you haven't gotten to announce your victory on the pod yet, but Jonas Valanciunas played more minutes.
Yeah, and it was close. I mean, I thought coming out of game 3, because they really started going to Larry Nance there at the end of game 3. I was like, man, this might be curtains for me. It might be over. And then Valanciunas gets all the way up to like 4 fouls.
I know.
By the third quarter, and I'm thinking, oh man, this is really it. It's like, because it was coming down to a close game again, and I kind of thought he was going to go back to Nance. I mean, that was one of the talking points from Pelicans fan side coming out of game 1. Like, would it have made more sense to go back to Valanciunas at the end of game 1 when he decided to stick with Nance instead? So I was kind of expecting that again.
Mm-hmm.
But no, he stuck with my guy, JV, and we pulled it out. I think we won by 7 minutes. So feeling pretty good.
It was so hilariously close.
It was.
And I think that it kind of showed a little bit that the Pelicans had no answer, Like there was no strategy that they kind of just like stuck with, that they were just like, okay, we're just going to go with this. It was just kind of like, we'll try this. Maybe this will work. Like, they just had no answers. And I think it was pretty clear even after game 2. They're like, oh, like this is kind of over. Like they don't have a way to, because neither Nance nor Valanciunas were going to help them that much, but they're both so different stylistically and both styles didn't work. So it was just like, all right, we'll try a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and maybe something will happen, and it never did.
Yeah, by game 4, we even saw a brief appearance from Jordan Hawkins, who we had talked about.
We saw like 4 minutes of Jordan Hawkins.
Yeah.
Like, nope.
Yeah, I thought he might get more of a shot just because, especially after 3 games of them shooting like 25% from 3. I was thinking, okay, maybe.
He's just so small.
Yeah, he is.
He's really small, and he's really slight. And guys can get better. Like Isaiah Joe is not like some like big dude, And Isaiah Joe's gotten much better on defense. And I think that if you're Jordan Hawkins, you kind of have to look at what Isaiah Joe's done to his game and become that kind of player. And if you can't, like I think that's kind of a good roadmap for Hawkins. So I really like, and I think he can really shoot the ball. But if you don't have anyone to create your shots, those guys aren't as valuable. We saw that with Trey Murphy. Outside of game 1, like he was just not able to create his own shot, or in the end, they weren't able to get him any clean looks after the Thunder kind of tightened that up.
Yeah.
So they just need to have more playmakers. And I think Thunder fans can be grateful that Sam Presti drafted so many playmakers. I mean, it feels like, the Thunder are like one of the only teams in the league where they can sit one of their playmakers and like they're fine, like they'll be okay. Like the offense is going to be okay. Whereas you go with a lot of other teams, like most teams have 2 and like one dominant playmaker. And so it's just, it's just interesting to watch the Thunder, compared to other teams that they don't have quite as much.
Well, you saw it with both of the teams in the West that got swept, the Pelicans and the Suns, 2
Yeah.
teams that just, like, desperately need someone running things.
Yep.
And neither of them have it, and I think it'll be easier for the Pelicans to find that because they have, some level of flexibility, whereas the, Suns are basically just gonna be taking whoever's the best vet minimum point guard they can get. Did you see that report that, Vogel, like, really wanted he was, like, pushing for them to get a point guard last summer?
Oh, really?
Yeah, and they were like, "No, no, we don't need a point guard. Don't worry about that."
You crazy?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it was kind of the obvious thing from the beginning. It was just you have too many guys that do the same thing. You
Yeah,
need.
their argument, I think this was on the Levitard show, was that, well, we don't want anyone taking the ball out of, Booker or Beal or KD's hands, you know? And on the one hand, you kinda get it because what is, like, the first report that comes out after they lose? It's like KD was like, "Oh, I don't think they were using me right, sticking me in the corner." Well, if they get a point guard, that's only going to increase. I don't know what KD wants. I mean, I thought he had a pretty good season, like, he was really good this season.
Yeah, he had a great season.
So, that honestly, that quote, as someone who has been very pro, like, "Hey, let's think about trading for Durant this summer. Just for fun. Let's just think about it."
Did that turn
That
you?
quote Yeah, that quote was like, "Okay, I don't think this is gonna work." I don't
Yeah,
he like, it really would only work if he's ready to move into, like, the next stage of
yeah.
his career. But that
He's
quote made it seem, and I guess it wasn't really a quote, it was, like, reporting from sources.
yeah.
It made it seem like, oh, he still, like, wants to be, like, the guy on a team.
He's 27, 6-5. This season. I mean,
Yeah,
I don't blame him. I mean, he's still got a lot to give. They just don't have a very good team. you know,
yeah.
and
But
and like
also
no
I
way
just
to
don't know
improve it either.
if you really want, like, 36-year-old KD, if you want to rely on him
Yeah.
in that way, because you saw it in that Minnesota series, like, he's still a great player,
Mhm.
but, like, you're starting to really see the differences from him, like, even 2 to 3 years ago. You see
Mhm.
a lot on defense. I mean, especially as he was getting older, like, into his early 30s, he was becoming, like, a really good defensive player, and I don't know if he's hitting those heights anymore as consistently.
Mhm.
And so he's still a great offensive player. I still there probably still is a trade package I'd be willing to give up for KD, but I don't think it'd be the type of package that would ultimately convince the Phoenix to do it. I mean, the thing about the whole Phoenix thing is, like, I see people saying, like, "Oh, try to trade KD, get some depth, kind of rebuild around Booker. You can't really get rid of Beal
Yeah.
unless, like, a really great situation opens up where one of these teams with cap spaces wants him for some reason and he wants to go there." But if you trade KD, like, it's really hard to imagine or to think of the trade package that would actually make them better.
This is why they're so screwed.
I know, and that's why I feel like if you trade KD, whether you do it now or in a year, like, you're ultimately going to be trading Booker too, because it's very hard to come up with KD trades where you're getting back what you would need, because the type of teams that are trading for him are going to be teams that at least think they're contenders, so they're not going to be wanting to give you key rotation players.
Mhm.
So more likely it'd be, honestly, a package like OKC where you're trading for more picks, like more picks based, and then maybe like one rotation player.
Mhm.
And man, I just don't think, like, I think that just makes you substantially worse.
Yeah. And it's a team that doesn't care about the draft.
It's true.
On record, doesn't care
On
about.
record.
Yeah, I mean, and also Kevin Durant played 75 games. Booker played 68. Bradley Beal played 53. I need to look and see. But that's about right for Brad, you know? Like
And they were the 6th seed. Like, how are you trading KD and finishing better than the 6th seed in the West?
you won't. This is
So
why they're so screwed. This is why this is such a disaster.
but also, like, for me, this is why they're just gonna run it back. Like, there's
You
gonna be plenty of fake trades podcasts about this team, but at the end of the day, like, I think you have to run it back because the alternative is completely blow it up, which I would consider, and I would want to know what you could get for Booker because I do think, especially if you could trade him to the Nets, who we know would love to trade for Devin Booker,
yeah,
and get all of your picks back and just
picks
kind of
back.
like reset everything.
Yep.
That would make sense to me, but it doesn't seem like they're interested in that. In which case, I think you just have to run everything back.
Yeah.
Get a new coach, I guess, and then
I don't I mean, can you really I mean, they gave him a 5-year, $31 million contract.
bro, they just gave Grayson Allen a ton of money. They're gonna give Royce O'Neal a ton of money.
No. Can they afford Royce O'Neal even? It's like a serious question. It's a
I mean,
serious question.
if he wants to afford, if I don't know what he doesn't seem to have Ballmer money, but clearly he has a lot of money. He's very
Yeah,
willing to go all in.
I guess. As is it's a tough situation.
I mean, they're gonna get some vet min guys that everyone freaks out about again.
Maybe Chris Paul will come back to
Yeah,
Phoenix.
yeah, be something like that.
Yeah. And it won't move the needle. And they'll lose in round 1 again. And then maybe they'll trade Booker and
Yeah,
KD.
then they'll trade. And by that time, KD will be on an expiring deal, so you're not going to get as much for him.
Yeah.
Which is why I think it makes sense to do it this summer. But I understand after making that huge of a deal, and this really is their first full season because KD came over halfway through the previous season.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I just forget, you just forget about certain playoff series. I like completely forgot that they took the champion Nuggets to 6 games, that they got 2 games off that Nuggets team.
Yeah.
So you understand why they were, you know, excited, optimistic going into this season.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is their first full season. So I mean this is what they're going to tell themselves. Like, okay, this is our first full season. We'll get a new coach in here. Apparently they want Ty Lue. Maybe they could get who could they get? Coach Bud. I don't know.
Gosh.
Poor poor Suns, they can't get Doc Rivers. He seems like the type of coach who would have jumped into this situation.
What a disaster. What an absolute disaster in Phoenix. Yeah, and if you're another team, why would you trade for Kevin Durant? Like, he hasn't shown any capacity, one, to be like a number 1 guy anymore, and also hasn't really shown a capacity to just like be content. You know?
Yeah, that's why the only team that makes a ton of sense to me is maybe there's 2 teams. The Warriors, just because
Yeah,
they're kind of they're running
it's your
into a dead end anyway, and it's like, hey,
last chance. Yeah.
yeah, why not? And then I could kind of see the argument for the Knicks if they
Okay.
were able to swing a deal.
Yeah.
Just because I do think they have a really good supporting cast around him.
Yeah.
And I mean, you see it in some of these games. Like the Knicks could just use a little bit more firepower, and part of that is because they don't have Julius Randle. But that's the one other team where I could like kind of see it maybe work.
Yeah. But if you're the Suns, like, is there a serious trade package in the Knicks that makes sense?
Well, I mean,
They're
you
gonna want
probably
players. They're gonna want players.
yeah, and that's one of the reasons why the Knicks might work is just because they do have such a deep rotation. I'm not saying you're getting like amazing players back,
Yeah.
but
I mean, you're definitely not.
they might be able to give you like 3 NBA rotation players and then like a pick.
Yeah.
I don't know who they would want to give up, but they have a lot of options.
Yeah. I mean, I guess you could do that if you're the Knicks. I think that's probably right. That's one of the few teams.
Because the
That,
benefit they have is that Brunson's on such a cheap deal that
uh,
you can bring
I
in KD's 50 million and it wouldn't kill them. I mean, obviously you have to send back money. I mean, maybe you do send back Randall. Would the Suns be interested in Randall?
He adds a little variety.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
A Randall, Yusuf Nurkic front line.
That's the part that isn't as exciting, but maybe there's something there.
Yeah.
I did want to bring up about the Pelicans. This was tweeted to me after that game one
Mhm.
when it was looking like, oh, might be a longer series than we thought. From Dennis Todman on Twitter, and he just gave me the stats of the Pelicans with and without Zion, because I think after a series like that, when you hold a team to under 93 points in 4 straight games, it can
Yeah.
be easy to just kind of like write off the Pelicans as a team, like, oh, they were just like completely outmatched, which they were.
Mhm.
But this season, in over 1,700 minutes, the Pelicans without Zion had a plus 6.6 net rating, which would have ranked third in the league, just behind OKC and Boston. And they had a 108.2 defensive rating, which would have ranked number one.
Wow.
So, like, there was something there. And I think as we look at some of these other series, as bad as the Pelicans looked against OKC, I do think there are some series that it could have gone better for them. You
Mhm.
know, like even watching that Pacers team, they would have never played the Pacers because they're in different conferences. But even watching that Pacers team, like they would have caused them a lot of problems, I
Yeah.
feel like.
Well, you see the Pacers lose that game last night to, like, the barely Bucks,
The barely Bucks.
and it's just that could be one that could be a huge, huge thing for Milwaukee. Just, like, give them a few more days, see if Giannis can actually go.
Yeah.
If Giannis comes back and they blew that game, like, that could be devastating to their franchise, like, devastating. Because I think they thought, like, "Oh, yeah, we're gonna win this series," and they did not. It was really bad. I honestly just can't even believe it. I just cannot believe they lost that game yesterday. And
Yeah, I
just
really hope he comes back because Knicks Bucks is like a
that
really
would be
fun
really fun. Like, and watching, like, how hard the Knicks play, I think they would just roll the Pacers.
Yeah. Yeah, I kind of feel that way too.
Yeah, I hope I hope the Bucks fight back and that Giannis comes back and, then I mean, because right now the East is a mess, and it's kinda gross. You know, you just want somebody to be a challenger too. And I know maybe people view the Knicks or even the Sixers aren't dead, obviously. That game was, unbelievable from Tyrese Maxey yesterday, but it still doesn't feel like there's like a true challenger to the
Well,
Celtics.
I don't know because now KP is out, and it didn't seem like he's immediately coming back. He has a calf strain.
They're tricky. Calf strains are tricky.
Calf strains are tricky. I feel like there's been a lot of calf strains
There's been
lately.
a lot of calf strains. I mean, Giannis. I mean, that's Giannis.
Isn't that what Dame has too, or his is Achilles? His
Yeah,
Achilles
it's
tendons.
like an Achilles something,
But
but also calf related.
connected.
Yeah, yeah. It is. It is a little bit strange. Jamal Murray calf strain.
Mm,
There's a
it's
lot.
bad. It's spreading.
It's spreading. Oh man. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of interesting storylines out there. What do you think they're going to do with Bi? Do you think they're going to trade Bi?
I do, and I think that they're lucky in the sense that I do think there's going to be some teams that are going to be willing to give up assets for him.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't like the fit necessarily, but the Pistons are such an obvious,
Oh, it's
because
so
because if
gross.
if you're the Pistons and
Yeah.
like the alternative is like we're going to give Tobias Harris 25 to 30 million a
I
year,
know. I know.
and it's like, okay, well BI is a lot younger. You can at least pretend he's on the same timeline as Cade, and will give them a scoring punch. It's just the fact that he's not really the shooter that you would want,
Yeah.
and I just don't. I don't know. He'd have it'd be a similar situation to what he has with Zion right now, where Like the fit with them just never really quite worked. And part of that is that BI just like doesn't really want to do a ton off ball. And so, are you really going to take the ball out of Cade's hands so that you can put it in BI's hands? I don't know. I don't think that would be like a perfect marriage, but it would definitely be flashy and it would definitely get like the Pistons excited. I feel like it's just setting them up for a future half decade of 35 to 42 wins.
I mean,
But
of course it is.
but it's something. You could do it.
He definitely could. What
Could.
what about this? What about Brandon Ingram and CJ McCollum for Kevin Durant and spare parts?
Okay. You still would want a point guard
I
if
know.
you're the
We
Pelicans.
kind of saw this on full display in this one. CJ is just kind of like another one of those guys that.
Oh, well, yeah, I was actually thinking from the Pelicans angle. Like,
Oh
man,
no! Like
who
if Zion's healthy, like you just have Zion, like point Zion. I mean, it showed
yeah,
to work.
yeah. I feel like they would end up running into similar issues as the Suns, though. I mean, like when Zion's off the floor, what are they doing? I probably still would do it. That would clear a lot of money.
Yeah. And if you're Phoenix, like you get Brandon Ingram, who's like a nice young player.
CJ Booker and Beal is kind of
Oh,
ridiculous.
it is like tripling down on like small, shooting
Yeah.
guards that are definitely not point guards, but can kind of do point guard things sometimes.
What if they
It's
just keep collecting like slightly worse versions of that archetype until it's just a team full of those players?
running out 5 guys that can have a pretty good handle. They can make some good, passes to the corners at times.
They've all had points during their careers where people have gotten really excited about their passing and been
Yeah.
like, "Oh, this guy is really taking a leap as a playmaker. Like, could he be a lead guard?"
Yeah.
Basically, all of those guys.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know. I think
No, all I was thinking watching that Pelican series is, man, Portland should have traded CJ so much sooner.
yeah.
It was never going to work. I know he's like older now, but just like that type of player, I just feel
Mhm.
like you have to be such high level to make it work
Oh,
in
yeah.
the playoffs.
Yeah, without a doubt.
And I just wonder I wonder what people were offering for CJ like back in the day. Like maybe after that run when they beat the Thunder and went to the
Yeah.
conference finals.
Yeah,
What
it's
could
hard.
you have gotten for CJ? But
You probably could have gotten a whole lot more, but if you're the Blazers, like that's just it puts you in a tough spot because like you can't trade him then, you know.
why not?
No, I just don't think you can do it. What about Brandon Ingram for Harrison Barnes and Kevin Herter?
Um, yeah, I mean, I think from the Kings side, that's pretty cheap. I mean, to be able to get off of Barnes's deal is pretty nice.
Mm-hmm.
Herter's a loss, but he wasn't very good this season. So yeah, I mean, I think from the Kings angle, that's pretty good value. Even if I might not like Ingram, I would do that.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's I don't know what that does for you if you're the Pelicans though.
I mean, it just provides some dudes.
I feel like that's their problem though. They have too many. That's all they have. It's just
They're
like a
full of
roster of
dudes.
like pretty cool dudes. I don't know what to do with all these dudes, but they all seem like
Like,
dudes. Like
they're
Najee
all
Marshall seems like a dude.
Najee was good. As long as he doesn't dribble, he's good. He has
Yeah.
like one of the loosest handles of guys that like to dribble in the NBA. Najee does.
I think he's a free agent this summer, isn't he?
He dribbles the ball
Yeah, he is.
so high whenever he's going up and down the court that I'm just like screaming in my head, somebody go strip the ball from that guy, like right now. I mean, come on.
I think teams should jump all over him. He could be the next Kenrich Williams.
I think he's good. I mean, obviously a really good defender and a guy that can shoot it from the corners. Yeah, I think so.
He shot. I mean, it was only 2.3 attempts, but he's only playing 19 minutes a game. He shot 39% from 3 this season.
His nickname is the Knife.
Yeah, that's cool. You know who? Okay, if you could have one of the Pelicans like role players, get them on the Thunder this season. So you can't take Zion, Ingram, CJ, JV,
JV.
of their like other guys. And you can't take Trey Murphy.
That's
Of
the
just
easy one. That's the easy one.
of just like they're kind of like random guys. Who would you like on the Thunder, or who screams like Thunder guy to you? Because I feel like there's an obvious one.
Who screams Thunder guy? I mean, I think Nance does.
Yeah, that's like watching this series. I was like, man, Larry Nance would be kind of like a perfect Thunder guy.
He's like a great backup center for the Thunder. And did you see him talking to J-Dub after the game?
No.
He was saying like, he basically was talking gushing about like what the Thunder we're building. It's like what you guys have is so special,
Yeah.
What you guys are doing is so special. It's like, well, he would be really good. Now, I don't know that I would honestly, with the way that J Will has played though, like it'd be nice to just have like one more big, I guess, but I kind of just would like to continue to develop J Will. Not only has he like been pretty good on the court, but he's just such a great locker room presence and like a good like energy guy. And to have that guy involved and playing well, that's I don't know. I really like it.
Yeah. I think I feel better about Nance at the 4 than I do about J Will at the 4 right now.
Oh, yeah. As just like if he's your third center that can play next to Chet a little bit.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking. Although I'm looking at his basketball reference now, he only played 1% of his minutes at power forward this year.
Yeah, he's just he's like switchy enough to tempt coaches to make him switchy.
He clearly tempted me,
but like not quite good enough. Is kind
of
of
that's kind of J Will's thing too.
I mean, certainly as a switchy defender, for sure, he's the same. Yeah, I mean, the other answer is Herb Jones.
Oh,
but Herb is not really thundery. And like
no,
his quick decision making.
He is like old school Thunder. Like he would have been the perfect player for those like Russ and KD teams.
Yeah, his size though, like he's such a good defender. I would just take him anyways. He's 6'8", can defend almost every position on the court, and 3 balls
honestly,
better.
You take him for his contract alone, like.
Yeah,
I was confused by that last summer. Just like, why is no one else going for this guy?
Yeah,
and then to get him on that deal. I mean, he's going to be making under $15 million in 2026-27. And meanwhile, Grayson Allen's going to be making like close to $20 million.
Yeah, it's crazy. It also makes Lu Dort's contract look really good.
Well, yeah, I mean, Dort's contract is looking better and better.
Dort was, we've talked about it a lot, but like Dort was so good. If you were to give an MVP of the series, who would you give it to? I bring up Dort because I think like he's actually like a really good candidate.
Yeah, I think you think about Chet just because of what he did defensively. I mean, I was looking at it in game 3 and 4. Let me go look this up. What they held the Pelicans to around the rim.
Yeah.
Because I think it was game 2, they shot like 70% at the rim, which I think that was mostly a factor of that early Valanciunas run.
Yeah.
Where he was just, scoring a ton of points.
Yeah.
And then I think they kind of cooled off just in terms of not taking a lot of rim shots the rest of the game.
Mm-hmm.
Where is game logs? But yeah, in those last 2 games, like he was awesome. Like they shot 46% at the rim in game 3. They shot 43% at the rim in game 4. That is incredible. And I have to give Chet like the bulk of that credit. And I forget who had the stats, but there were some stats about like when the Pelicans took a rim shot with Chet on the floor and what the
Yeah,
percentage
ESPN
was.
ESPN had that. Their stats and info group had it. Let me
Yeah, so
find it.
he would be he would be a contender, and then I think Dort is the other one just because of playing a team like New Orleans, who only has a few options offensively, just to completely shut down one of those options.
Yeah.
Just complete where you're not even ever barely thinking about the option or
Mhm.
worried about it. That is such a luxury. I mean, that is the reason why it feels like there was never going to be an answer for the Pelicans. Because like once their best scorer was just completely taken out of the series, like it's just too hard. The degree of difficulty for coming up with something else to do to beat the Thunder, it was just never going to be there. So yeah, I might give it to Dort just because of the defense on Ingram, and then he had some really crazy shooting runs.
Yeah. Yeah, the stat is they were 9 of 25 on shots within 5 feet of the basket that were contested by Chet.
Yeah.
25.7%.
That's pretty good.
It's good. It's good.
Yeah, let's see. Dort was 12-23 from 3. I don't
Yeah.
know if we're getting that series again. I mean, that's asking a lot.
Yeah.
Over 50% for Dort.
Yeah. I mean, looking at just like the general 3-point percentages from the team, there's like definitely guys that shot over their head and then guys that weren't so good. Like Jay Will. Let me look. Let me put this on totals real quick. So Jay Will was 4 of 7 for the series. Lou, like you said, 12 of 23 for 52%. Josh Giddey was 9 of 18, obviously 50%. J Dub was 7 of 18, 38.9%, which is actually below his season average. And like those are the guys that shot it well. And then it's like Isaiah Joe was only 35%, 5 of 14. Like that can be.
Yeah.
Wiggs was only 2 of 6. Like he can be better. Chet was 7 of 23, 30% from 3.
Yeah.
Like we know he can be better than that. Shea was 5 of 17, 29%. He can be better. Casey Wallace was 2 of 7 for the series, 28%. Like he can be better. So I just don't know. I mean, I think they shot it fine. There were guys that Dort was great. Everybody else was okay. Giddey had a good series, obviously, but Hayward was 0 of 0. So
Yeah, that bet is still ongoing. Lindy versus Gorgman. Who's it going to be?
there was like a couple times during the game where it even looked like Gordon was open and like Shea just wouldn't even pass him the ball.
Yeah, I think if they're going to go far in this playoffs, they'll just have to eventually make a decision there.
What did you think? What did you think about the decision to not play Kenrich?
I mean, I thought it was a little strange because especially like when Nance is out there on the floor, I think like Kenrich is an obvious choice of something you would try. But I don't know. Maybe I mean he's going to be really fresh. He's going to be extremely fresh for the next round.
It'll be very fresh. Yeah.
And so maybe we'll see him more there. I mean, I'm not going to fall into a thing where I think that like Mark has settled his playoff rotation because we've just seen over and over again that guys will reappear.
Yeah, that's right.
So I'm not going to be shocked if like Kenrich takes like the J Will minutes in round 2 or something.
Mm-hmm.
That wouldn't blow me away.
Yeah.
Let me see.
What are you looking for?
I was looking for. Well, no, I can't find it. So yeah. So I don't know, Andrew. Anything else you want to talk about?
Shea had a baby a few days ago.
Oh, actually, sorry. That is what reminded me of it. But I did want to mention that, like, if there was one disappointment from that series, like, I was a little disappointed in Shea overall.
Mm-hmm.
And I just think that if they're going to go deep in this playoffs, like they're going to have to get a real good series from Shea. And I don't know how much of that to assign to the Pelicans, but
Mm-hmm.
specifically in that game 4, there were so many what I felt like were uncharacteristic drives from Shea
Mm-hmm.
where he does his like herky jerky thing. It's a little more slowed down than you're going to see from like a drive from Russell Westbrook or De'Aaron Fox.
Mm-hmm.
But it was almost like so slow that it gave the rest of the Pelicans team time to kind of zone in on him and
Mm-hmm.
just kind of and it led to so many of like turnovers or blocks where Shea would have just been better suited to pass it out.
Yeah.
And I feel like he would have passed it out in the past. And so maybe it was just a bad game or he was, overconfident probably for good reasons because the guy who was guarding, he probably can break down.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. There were just a couple plays in that, especially the game 4, where I was just like, "Ooh, Shea, what are you doing? Like, why did you do this?" Um, but again, I don't know how much of that to just give credit to New Orleans because they did do a really good job on him
Yeah.
overall for the
When
series.
Herb was on him, he did good. Herb wasn't his primary defender a lot because they were decided to switch everything.
Yeah,
The Thunder just like got to choose their defender basically. Najee was awesome on Shea. I thought he's
yeah,
really
he was.
physical. Even Bi when he got switched on to Shea at times did pretty good. He blocked Shea's shot a few times. Like they have just a lot of length and athleticism on the perimeter, with their defenders. And so that I think they are like a really tough, like good matchup for Shea specifically because of that. And he was 27, 6 and 5. It's
Yeah,
not like
it was kind of like a Luca thing where like he's going to get his stats.
mhm,
But outside of that game too, when I thought he really was brilliant, I thought
mhm.
for the rest of the series, it was just a tough slog, and I don't know how much again to just give credit to New Orleans because they do have the guys. Versus, I do feel like Shea was making some like uncharacteristic plays for Shea.
We
Like I
also
just didn't.
had 6 free throws in that game too, which is
Yeah,
just weird. Probably just tired because he's a new dad.
he may be. He may be. It just felt like he had tunnel vision more than I've seen from him in the past on some of those drives. So
Yeah,
it's just something I'm obviously keeping an eye on going forward because they need Shea to be MVP level more nights than not
yeah,
to win in the next round and to do anything going forward. So,
yeah.
but yeah, that's awesome. They had a baby. It's awesome that he gets a week break.
I know.
Amazing timing. I mean, I guess better timing would be like July. Then he has like months breaks. But
Yeah,
given the context, that's perfect.
yeah.
Probably was a motivator to win in 4.
Hmm.
Go hang out with your baby for a week.
Yeah,
So
it's
that's
great.
great. And we'll see if he gets the new daddy bump
I know the
because
franchise elite.
yeah, I feel like it's happened a lot. I feel like Luca when he had
Yeah,
his baby, like immediately after that, he went on a tear. So we'll see.
yeah. I think
Yep.
there's a possibility there. Yeah, he was 47, 29, 72 shooting splits.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not great. Um, Yamology in the chat. He said, Chet, birthday bump. Happy birthday to Chet today.
Ooh, was he 21, 2?
22. Yeah.
22.
Shout out to Chet.
Shout out to Chet. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday to Chet. Okay. So we will have the Fry Pod for sure this week. We will have a preview of the series whenever we know who it's going to be. Um, Hopefully we'll have enough time. We just didn't like have enough time to do like to have like
No, we
guests.
don't want enough time, Andrew. We want this to go to 7, and we want them to have to play a back-to-back for game 1. What do you know? I need to look at what the schedule would be. Like, if they did go 7 games, would it go to Sunday?
Is that right?
It would. It would be Sunday, May 5th. So they'd only get a game off and then or a day off and then have
But at
to
least we'd have
start
a
the next series.
day. Yeah, we'd have a day
Yeah.
to because like last time I guess we had a day as well. We had that Saturday, but
But no one was listening to pods because it was the first day of the playoffs.
yeah, first day of the playoffs, and I wasn't going to record that day either. So But hopefully, I think that Monday, hopefully we can get, La Murray on if it's or Tim Cato on
Yeah.
um, to discuss. Although they may be they're probably traveling. I don't know.
Oh.
I don't know. We'll find somebody to guess from the other side though, because I think it's fun to kind of talk to somebody who's on the inside of knowing what's going on with those teams. So,
Hey, I'm just thankful we are not playing the Nuggets or the Wolves.
dude, they lucked out so much, and not to say that they're for sure going to win this next round. I don't think that
No, not at all. It's just
there's no
I'm
forecast.
glad we're not playing those two teams.
They both look obviously the Nuggets. You don't want to play the Nuggets in the second round, but the Wolves look scary, and I think there's a lot of hyperbole being thrown around about the Wolves already. Um, we'll see. We'll see
Well, I
what
think
happens.
they're in a similar situation as the Thunder, where they were obviously so good in their first round series.
Yeah,
They're so good that it makes you be like, okay, how bad were those teams? Like how bad were the Suns? Like, should we have even taken them seriously at all? I mean, by name factor, it's like, wow, that's a super impressive sweep, and a
yeah,
sweep's going to be impressive regardless. But man, that Suns team is dysfunctional.
yeah.
So I'm really excited for game one of that series just to
Oh,
see where the Wolves are.
yeah. I can't wait.
Because
Yeah,
I could see it going either way. I could see them coming out and just like punching Denver in the face
oh
and
yeah,
winning game one. I
yeah,
could also see Denver just like asserting themselves from the jump
yep,
and like being the clear better team. So I
yeah,
have no idea what to expect from that series.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, this is a true like changing of the guard in the West that's happening right now, where it's like, Nuggets, Thunder, Wolves, Mavs are like gonna be like the teams. As like the Clippers age and Phoenix and those guys, the Lakers, the Warriors, start to just fade just because of age. And now like for forever, those were the teams that I just mentioned were prominent, and now it's going to be like the Thunder, Nuggets, Wolves, Mavs, whoever else wants to join the party are going to be around for a long time. San Antonio, whatever happens with the Rockets, these old teams are going away, and like this is the new West, and it's really tough. It
And
is
it's
really, really tough.
and it's all the Northwest Division. So
It
if the
is.
if the Jazz, make some big moves this summer,
Yeah.
huh?
I mean, only only 15 wins away from getting to the 10th seed.
That's
So
right.
oh man, God, it's gonna be. This is. I just want to be sure that just be sure you're enjoying this, no matter what happens in the next round. Like we talked about it the other night, but like this is only the second time a Thunder team has ever swept an opponent. The
Yeah.
second time, isn't that crazy? Like that's insane to think about. Like
Yeah, I mean, I look at a slightly pessimistic way where it's like, man, there's a part of me that almost wishes I could have gotten that first playoff loss out of my system. Because now, when it happens in the second round, it's going to hit so hard. I'm going to be so miserable after that game whenever it inevitably happens. Like they're not going 16-0,
no,
and
no, no, no.
so
They're
when
going
they
to
get that
games. They're
that
going.
first loss is gonna it's gonna drive me insane, Andrew. I already
Which
know.
in 2016, like that 2016 team that was amazing. That even like
Yeah.
Andre Iguodala said after the fact, like that was the best team, in the league this year. And you look at who I mean, this Mavs team. I was looking at this yesterday. We were talking about this on the Dream Team show yesterday, but this Mavs team beat the Thunder in a game. They beat them 85-84 in Oklahoma City in game two. It was Ray Felton leading the way with 21, 10, and 3. Old Dirk, Wes Matthews, Darren Williams, Zaza Pachulia. Like that's the team that beat Kevin Durant, Russell Westbrook.
Yeah.
That crazy team. Um, I thought this was crazy, and I need to kind of look up like how many guys are still on their teams from this year. But like Dwight Powell played 10 minutes off the bench for that
Oh
Mavs team,
wow.
which is just feels crazy, to think about.
God,
But
he's
yeah,
been there a long time.
the last team that the Thunder swept was the Mavericks in 2012, and Jason Kidd was on that team. He was playing on that team. Like, it's been that long, and they could have him as the coach of the next round. It is bizarre, It's bizarre to think
Man, Dwight Powell played in a playoff game for the Mavs when this was their roster.
Yeah.
Monta Ellis, Dirk, JJ Barea, Al-Farouq Aminu, Tyson Chandler, Devin Harris, Amari Stoudemire, Charlie Villanueva.
Wow.
He played in a playoff game with those guys.
Dwight Powell. He's been a Mav for a long time. It doesn't. I don't think that I would have even remembered that he was like on the team that in those years.
I have no memory of Amari Stoudemire on the.
I have like
he only
vague memories of that.
He played 23 games for them, and then he played in the playoffs 5 games.
So weird. So weird. But like my point was like most like sweeps are pretty rare. Like they don't happen all the time. And
It's really hard to do, as we saw with the Nuggets and Lakers.
it's mentally really tough to do. And it just makes me think a little differently of this Thunder squad. Like
Yeah.
I just think that they're capable of a little bit more than I thought they were. Not that they're going to go to the finals. Like they could, but I'm not saying that they're going to. I'm just saying like I think a little bit more of this team, and a lot of it, it was J-Dub and Giddy that delivered that win, the other night in the fourth quarter. They were both phenomenal in the fourth quarter. And to just have multiple guys that can step up like that, and I don't know if you agree with this, I think you can kind of think of Giddy as like part of like the core four again, with the way that he's played. I thought that he almost kind of deserves that, that thinking again, because he has been that good over the last like couple months.
Yeah.
For the Thunder.
He's been on fire.
All right. We'll have another podcast for you guys on Friday. We'll preview the series. Probably Monday would be my guess, as we'll know, firmly who it's going to be Monday. So McKelly and I will hopefully have a guest. Maybe we'll see, but we'll be there to cover everything. Home games, I'll be outside the arena. I still have a few Down to Dunk stickers. So if you're going to be at game 1 next Tuesday, come find me. I have a few left. So come find me. I'll give you a Down to Dunk sticker. I'll be doing some trivia and stuff outside the arena as well. So if you just have the burning desire to be in a video, you can find me for that as well. Hope you guys have a great day, and we will talk to you guys again on Friday.